What could go wrong for Washington at the Alaska? The risks, guardrails, and the minimum viable outcome. Anchorage, August 15, 2025. The US and Russian presidents meet today to test whether a ceasefire in Ukraine can start now, on the clock. The White House message is blunt. Push for a halt to the strikes today, warn of economically severe consequences if Moscow stonewalls, and keep allies close while exploratory nuclear talks remain strictly separate. What is at stake here? Or is it peace at any price? The optics are dramatic. The risks for Washington are real. Here's what could go wrong and how to keep the road ahead from slipping underfoot. Risk 1. A photograph writes the story. A glossy handshake versus empty checklist. A powerful image on US soil with no time-stamped steps behind it lets Moscow sell parity and momentum, while Washington inherits the burden of proof. Fact sheet equal announce, verify, report. The guardrail is simple. Pair any picture with a one-page fact sheet. 3 actions, 3 timelines. Announce, verify, report. Risk 2. With Ukraine, without Ukraine. Kyiv isn't at the table today. The issue here is that Congress's parliaments fund wars and peace. What is in it for Ukraine? Is the real war between Russia and NATO? We consult before we conclude. We align before we announce. We guarantee together, or we do not guarantee at all. Or is, as everyone thinks, the war between Ukraine and Russia. Even with assurances the US won't negotiate on Ukraine's behalf, perception is power. So we really consult before we conclude. We align before we announce. We guarantee together, or we do not guarantee at all. Mitigation. State it plainly. No territorial or security terms advance without Ukraine's explicit assent, and signal an early window for a trilateral. We consult before we conclude. We align before we announce. We guarantee together, or we do not guarantee at all. Risk 3. The freeze that favors the stronger. What with frontline map easing to a static line and calendars flipping. In the meantime, just keep making more weapons, just in case. A ceasefire that locks current lines hands Russia time to reload. A pause becomes a plan. The safeguard, relief only for verifiable withdrawals or defined demilitarized zones, automatic snapback for violations, independent monitors with weekly public reports. Better a cold peace than a hot war, but never a paper peace that cuts a living nation to pieces. Risk 4. Sanctions slippage. Now talk of bank facades, container tracking, compliance dashboards. Risk 4. Sanctions slippage. Comes in from conduct to relief versus from breach to snapback. Can all these be perfectly aligned? Key issue here is that partial relief for partial behavior is hard to retighten. Mitigation. Publish a trigger table. Conduct leads to relief. Breach triggers snapback. Synchronized with Europe. We do not ease to test compliance. We require compliance to ease. Risk 5. Arms control as a side door trade. Talk of missile silos, treaty binders, sealed containers, inspectors' visits, etc. Strategic stability must stand on reciprocity, data exchanges, inspections, without purchasing concessions on territory or justice. Decouple the tracks and keep them that way. Risk 6. Information ops boomerang. Talk of social media, headlines morphing, waveform glitches, etc. How will all this be spinned? Talk of news editors trimming clips, sharing post, analyzing heat map of views, etc. Its key issue here is that elastic phrasing on NATO or assurances can be clipped into a message Moscow prefers. Mitigation. The defense is discipline, scripted, repeatable lines, rapid verbatim transcripts, one designated voice. Say less, mean more, contradict nothing. Is it as easy as it sounds, really? Risk 7. Allies feel informed, not involved. Talk of round tables with empty EU placards filling in, or just video wall of capitals, might as well. Key issue here is that if bilateral understandings later require European money and NATO posture, partners will bridle unless they co-design the path. Mitigation. Name European roles in the readout and convene a same-day Allied call to own the next steps. Risk 8. Escalation on the day. Oh no, God forbid. Talk of worldwide alert screens, market tickers, crisis management, all breaks loose, etc., etc. All is not lost. There is still hope. Really? Is President Trump fully in control here? Apocalypse now, pre-briefed rungs across the world. Warnings about almost everything, e.g. cyber measures, air defense uplift leading to transformational financial steps and impacts. Do we have a strategy, really? Key issue here is that a misstepped response during the summit can set the tone and the markets for weeks. Mitigation. Calm by design. Pre-brief the rungs with allies and keep a quiet deconfliction channel open. Too late for that anyway. Probably that will come next week when allies are fully briefed. Risk 9. The promised delivery gap at home. Talk of the dreaded press rooms, opinion polls, headlines, etc. Well, what have we started off now? It is not that bad, or is it? Not just in homes, in offices too. Unfortunately, the clock is ticking and people are being killed at an alarming scale. Can we have a ceasefire as soon as possible? Each talk of how to allow inspections. When is the next meeting and who will tag on? Mitigation. Set the bar as first verifiable steps. Hours without strikes. Monitors on site. A dated next meeting, rather than an instant end state. Domestic credibility underwrites leverage abroad. However, we are living in very different times, are we not? This is really big. How far out will it reverberate from Alaska? Could it be Indo-Pacific shipping lanes? Gulf region? Far East? All diplomatic corridors? Which brings us nicely to Risk 10. Signals travel beyond Europe. Talk of joint exercises, joint maritime patrol, radar sweeps, information sharing, cooperation, technical knowledge, exchanges, etc., etc. The key issue here is that a lenient bargain invites tests elsewhere. A brittle bargain invites different tests. Mitigation. Pair any Ukraine pathway with visible deterrence in other theaters and state that progress in one arena is not permission in another. Will there be an agreed minimum viable readout today? E.g. with a clean, simple checklist background. So what must a minimally successful readout contain today? First, the aim to halt the strikes, ceasefire, verify the pause, design the guardrails. Details later on. Work on the metrics. 72-hour halt, independently confirmed. 7-day site access. 14-day First public report. Second, the metrics. A 72-hour halt confirmed independently, 7-day site access, and a first public report within 14 days. Third, the sanctions logic. A published trigger table aligned with Europe, and automatic snapback for breaches. Fourth, the process. A window for a trilateral with Kyiv, scheduled NATO and EU consultations, and a single US spokesperson to keep the message clean. As normalcy returns in a calm dawn over Anchorage soft winds, looking forward to the next day, not ceremony, but certainty. Not a moment's applause, but measures that endure. Not peace in words, but peace in hours counted and verified. Subscribe to hear about the proposed Trump-Putin-Moscow meeting. That was the Alaska summit. Risks and damp. Guardrails. Clarity first. Brevity next. Resolve throughout.